62, 2515 Monroe Street, and I went to Christ Our King grade school, Salesianum High School. I moved to 703 West 20th Street, where I lived till I was 22, 18 or something, I forget. And I moved to Hocassin for a few years, and then I went on the police department when I was 23. I was patrolman, detective, spent a lot of time with detectives, and then I was promoted to sergeant, lieutenant, captain. And I was captain of the detectives where we did most of the major crimes. I did the serial murder for the state of Delaware, which was famous. I spent so much time in the county. I was chief of police, and I thought I could have a bigger impact on things that were problematic, which was land use. Kept the police department from really growing because of all the problems. And primarily it was to come in and do some good things with land use in Newcastle County, which I did. Created the Unified Development Code and changed the way we do business. And getting back in it again, it was because in the last 8 years they did away with a lot of regulations and they let the development community run pretty much, I think, roughshod. And that was the reason to get back in and put back in place what I had done originally. So it was kind of connected to what I had done my first term, which was, and we'll be able to demonstrate shortly how they did away with all the protections and was going to put it back. It was number one, land use, which is turning out to be correct in what I said. And public safety is just as important because it was kind of let to go into not a priority. With that, public safety is I've always had a close working relationship with Wilmington as I did my first term. And the recognition that the problems of the city are problems of the county with public safety primarily, and we're going to work very closely with the new mayor to try to do some smart things where the police department, which is already starting, can help out the city of Wilmington and do a better job in Newcastle County. So the platform was public safety, it was land use, and the third was, trying to straighten out the terrible finances that we all face. I think it was because of what I had done in my last term, the 8 years. I think there were a lot of support there, as it showed in the results. It's not good. We're probably putting together a budget that'll be between $6 and $9 million short. So having been here 2 months, the goal will be the following budget. Can I turn it around? We're trying to think of every measure possible to stimulate the economy, stimulate housing, and try to make the next year's budget, not the one we're doing right now, in the black, in the positive. So that's our goal. So we're working very hard to try to. It's a bad economy. It's a bad economy in the county. It's a bad economy in the state. It's a bad economy in this country. We're all facing. So if we can turn it around a little bit, there's a different road to take. If we can't, then we've got to figure out what the government will look like with less money. The goals now, we've already instituted new changes in the police department, a new chief with Elmer Setting, a new public safety director with Joe Bryant. They're going to be more community oriented. They're going to be paying attention to the city and all the other towns in Newcastle County with an eye on using technology and tracking crime to better deploy the resources, and we're doing that. We'll welcome you to come look at a program they put on every Tuesday morning where most advanced police department in the country right now, where they outline through technology where the crime is and how they're attacking it live. And it's going to get a lot of recognition, I think, nationally. Everybody's coming to look at it. It's really cutting-edge stuff. Between the chief and the director, they've got a lot of great ideas, and they're going to move that police department forward. And as I've said, what else you can read every day, we're doing things in land use, and we're spending a lot of time finding the problems. And we're going to be instituting changes as soon as we find out how bad the problem is. So we're doing some things with development that you read about, but there's a lot of problems. They took away a lot of the controls that were there to protect the citizens, and we're going to put them back. But it's a full-time job. I think that there's a real treasure in the Hispanic community that's untapped. We're going to institute programs that recognize the businesses and the people that are involved in small and large businesses, get them a seat at the table. I've directed the housing department to start thinking about, we're going to go on some tours to see the condition of the apartments and condos and townhouses, particularly, and I think you're going to find a lot of that is where Hispanics are being used in some cases. And we're already starting a plan to start to accumulate that data. You know that we've had a couple meetings already with different Hispanic groups to formalize an organization that can bring them into Newcastle County government. I've met with the library managers already to talk about programs and in books and authors that are Hispanic in nature. So we're going to begin to attack it from what I can, which is going to be controlling land use, having access to, we're reviewing it right now, who gets all the work from the county. And that's if I'm holding up everything so I can figure out what they've done and how we can give access to everyone, including the Hispanic community, for bidding on jobs. That's a little bit harder than it says, but I'm working on that. So we've got access to the Hispanic community and jobs we give out here in terms of purchasing or contracts, how we can bring them into they have access to the county government when they want to put a bay on their store, how they do that, get them through the process, and then how they as a whole can have a better voice in Newcastle County. And we're doing that. Yeah, I do know. It's a result of continual lack of focus by everybody. The city is dying because it has lost most of the jobs. And I have over there a dictionary, a phone book from the 40s, and it shows every corner of the city has a business on it. And you had electricals and rubbers, you had a lot, and they had 150,000 people. It was alive with industry. Right now, it's service center oriented. Nobody really has any livable wages except for the port. And so what's driving the crime, what's driving the attitudes that it's the worst city has to do with they have the worst ability to get jobs. They have the most poverty. They have the most non-taxable property. They have the most of the poor and the most of the renters. And when you have that kind of an equation, you're going to have the most crime. It's nothing more simple than opportunity and employment. That's what's causing the city to fail. So we've got to turn that around. They're not bad people, but good people left with no opportunities, become, not that productive, and their families go downhill. And that's what's happening. You might have some bad people there, like you do everywhere, but it's driven by 20 or 30 years of decline in the city. And that's one of the issues that I'm working on to try to prove, so that we can get the politicians to understand. You're putting $1 billion in roads in Middletown. If they'd given the city $1 billion, we'd have the #1 city in the whole country. So it's focusing that on, they're not bad people killing one another. It's people that have been deprived of opportunities over the last 30 years. And I'm putting numbers on that right now as we speak. I'm hiring consultants to work on it. Everybody says the cliche made a difference. I made a difference last time, it's much more serious this time that we find a way to support the city of Wilmington. And, particularly to the Latino community, is try to bring them to the table. And I tried to my last 2 years of my term, and I ran out of time. That would be 203, 204. And I think that much like we have a Latin community center in the city, I told them at the time that there was many more Latinos in the county. They're not represented. My bet is it's twice as many now. And I don't think they should have to fear about immigration. And that's not something we're going to do. So it's really trying to get them accounted for, try to work with them, get better working conditions, but also they're a tremendous political force. And voting is power, and power is money and opportunity. Trying to get that message across is very important. And that's one of our ultimate goals. You want to get your streetlights fixed, you want better housing conditions, you have to show you're voting. That's the democracy in this country. Nobody's going to pay attention to people that don't vote. And trying to teach them that I'm not here to try to deal with immigration. We're going to try to really make a political force out of this group. And at the same time, make sure they're not being abused. And that's what we're going to do. I think the best thing I can do is bring you back in a year and show you what I said I did. And we're going to do it.
Ever close your eyes, ever stop and listen, ever feel